Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-wife I don't care if she and her family starve, that I am just responsible for our sons? I have 2 sons, ages 16 and 14, with my ex-wife. Our marriage reached a better end when I learned she had remained married to me for over 3 years, so I would support her through returning to school, so she could switch careers to an even better paying one, despite her old one paying as much as mine. For years, I tried like hell to save our marriage because I felt it fracture. She played along until she got what she wanted, and then she was honest that she had never wanted to save our marriage and had been over me for years. When we divorced, custody was set to 50-50 for our boys, and she was ordered to pay child support to me because she was making so much more after a change of career and education. She remarried a year after our divorce and had more children. After the birth of her last child 4 years ago, things got bad. Her husband was diagnosed with cancer. Then one of her kids got diagnosed with a long-term medical condition. Then COVID impacted her job. Our boys would tell me how rough things were at their moms and how they wanted to live more with me. So I went to court and the judge moved her down to every other weekend and changed the child support order to reflect her decrease in custody. Recently, she had moved into a smaller house because of how badly they were struggling. And then she came to me for help after the courts refused to end the child support payments. She told me I needed to help her, and that I should be helping to take care of my boy's family. And that's what she and her family are. I told her she used me for 3 freaking years so she could survive off my money. She did not get to ask for more to support a family that is not my own. She called me a selfish a-hole, told me her family's living off charity and they could be so much better off if I would help them. I asked her why I was supposed to care, and she told me she wished she had cheated while we were together, and that using me for money wasn't enough. Again, she told me about her family and how they would starve. I told her I didn't care if they did or not, that none of them are my problem, and I only care about my kids. She called me an a-hole. Her husband sent me a text that night saying I was a cruel a-hole, and he hoped the boys would hate me when they realize I want their whole family to suffer. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but make sure you have a high-level conversation with your boys so that they're prepared for your ex and her husband to try to paint you as the root to fall evil when they go over there. In addition to this, keep all communications written so that they can be presented in court if necessary. Good luck to you and your kids. Yes, adding to this, to keep his side civil, as in set firm boundaries but leave out cussing and insults. Probably will look better in court that way. Not the a-hole. Is she actually destitute? It doesn't sound like she is. She moved into a smaller house. That is still a house. It's not a shelter, not even an apartment. Are they on food stamps? I'm getting the sense she's having a hard time adjusting to a life on a more modest income, but not that she's totally broke. You also know she has a history of manipulating money out of you. I'd leave this up to courts. If she was really broke, wouldn't the court lower her child support payments? They would never end it, but they did adjust it some. But what she wanted was them to end for at least 6 months. Interesting. Why wouldn't they end it? Even if she was making less than you, currently is her and her husband's combined income lower than yours? Because I have primary custody now. So the new husband said he hoped the boys hated you for not helping out. Yet those same boys wanted to live more with you as they are actually not happy with that family of theirs. Somehow, I don't think you have to worry about that being prophecy. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for something my daughter broke? My ex and I have shared custody of our 15-year-old daughter. She has 2 more kids, 13 female and 8 male from her current marriage. My daughter is spending this week with her mom, and 2 nights ago, she called me crying and said her siblings broke her Xbox. I asked to talk to her mom and told her she needs to buy a new Xbox for her. She refused and told me she thinks this is a good consequence for her, as she would play in front of them all day and wouldn't let her siblings touch the Xbox, which is why they took it without permission and accidentally broke it. Last night, I got another call from her telling me my daughter broke his kid's new laptop on purpose. I asked my daughter what happened, and she calmly told me her siblings didn't let her touch the laptop and she accidentally broke it. I told my ex that this seems right to me. When something gets accidentally broken, no one needs to pay for it, right? We decided on this last night. She blew up at me and called me an a-hole and said I know very well that this was no accident. I told her I wish I could pay for the laptop, but unfortunately I have a new Xbox to buy, and hung up the phone. She sent me more messages calling me an a-hole and so many other nice words. and said the laptop was a lot more expensive than the Xbox. Wow, everyone sucks here. Your ex certainly had it coming to her for her attitude. She taught your daughter a really vicious, nasty lesson which you are reinforcing by letting her get away with. Money aside, all the kids need consequences, though you only have a say with your own kid. That said, I believe you are right that you and she each replaced the electronics equitably, which seems proportionate to the shared kid count. I'd be inclined to replace the Xbox in your own timing, depending on how you are holding your daughter accountable, and then keep it at your home, where she can't play in front of the younger kids. I want the Xbox to be replaced immediately as she has been saving for it for years and bought it with her own money, and she only got to use it for a few weeks. If my ex agrees to replace it for her immediately, then we can make a plan to replace the laptop together as she is not just my child. Not the a-hole. Malicious compliance at its best. You literally didn't do anything. You didn't tell your daughter to break their laptop. Your ex established how to handle the situation when she refused to hold her other kids responsible for what they did. The Xbox wasn't an accident either, because they took it without permission. This gets my vote, not the a-hole. Y'all missing the fact that the kids took the Xbox without permission. It was no accident. And in fact, Opie's daughter foreseeing that her half-siblings would likely break her Xbox may have been the reason she wouldn't share to begin with. Not the a-hole. Your daughter worked and bought her Xbox with her own money. She, and only she, decides who gets to use it. She said no. It is up to your ex-wife to teach her kids not to touch people's stuff. And when they said no, it's a complete sentence and needs to be respected. Your ex is a hypocrite. She won't replace what her kids broke but wants you to replace what your daughter broke. Since it's a consequence for your daughter, then I guess it's a consequence for her kids as well. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to tell my husband the gender of our baby after he skipped going to the doctor's appointment with me? Plus mini update. My husband and I are expecting. This is our first baby and we're excited. Thing is, he barely attends any doctor appointments with me and his excuses aren't even valid. He's willing to miss the doctor's appointment over soccer or a drink or board game with friends. His response is always, I'm not the one carrying the baby. Why do I have to go see the doctor with you? Last week was my final straw. He was supposed to come with me for the baby's gender reveal appointment, but he chose to not come last minute because his friend invited him to fish and chips meal. I was pretty livid, but didn't make a fuss about it and mom went with me instead. He texted asking me to tell him the results, boy or girl, but I refused to tell him. He kept spam calling me, but I hung up each time. He came home fuming, demanding I tell him the results, but I refused and bluntly told him since he refused to attend the appointment, then he gets no results till after the baby's born, and said I was willing to die on this hill. He went off calling me spiteful and immature for doing this and punishing him. He said he's the father and has the right to know. He then called me dramatic since I wasn't alone and mom was with me. I said he gets no results, period. He's been fuming about it and told his family and they're now pressuring me to stop playing mind games with him and tell him, but I declined. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before the mini update. Not the a-hole. Already a dad beats dad before the baby's even born. I would drop a friend if I found out they prioritized fish and chips over their wife and baby's doctor appointment. Birds of feathers flock together. His whole friend circle sucks. If he's telling you, I'm not carrying the baby, why do I have to go to the doctor with you? That's going to turn into, I didn't push out that baby, why should I look after it? Real quick. Not the a-hole. Yup. This is going to be the dad that complains he has to babysit while his wife goes to the store to buy him food. Not the a-hole. My ex pulled this with our second child, and I caved and told him. I shouldn't have. You need to seriously reconsider this relationship. He's showing you that he and his friends are more important than you and the baby. He sees going to appointments with you as punishment, not as a chance to make sure you and the baby are healthy. Don't be like me and stay until he leaves you for another woman. I'm surprised no one's said this yet. My ex-husband was cheating on me during my entire pregnancy and treated me exactly like Opie's husband is treating her. We had a healthy, intimate life during the entire pregnancy, but he was cheating with someone from work. He knew I'd be occupied at a doctor's office and took advantage. His friends lied for him. He even tried to leave to go home and get some sleep the night our son was born. He changed into his nicest clothes, fixed his hair, and put on cologne in my room's hospital bathroom to go home and get some sleep. I called him out for assuming I was dumb enough to buy it. We weren't together long after that. I'm not saying this is what Opie's husband is doing, but it is worth looking into because he's engaging in abnormal behavior. I only mention this because the baby is a new mother's first concern and STIs can harm an unborn baby. I wish I could upvote you more. This is a real advice from a person who lived a similar situation to the OP. My ex said he couldn't get off work, even though he had several people tell him they'd cover for him. And he knew long enough in advance that he could have scheduled the time off, but later admitted he hadn't bothered. Then, because we only had one car, he had me pick him up on my way back home. All the things I explained away, believed him on, told myself it was normal and I was overreacting, shaking my head. Edit/update. I just wanted to mention that my husband just attempted to contact my doctor to get the results. It didn't go well, and we had another argument over it. He couldn't get it since his mom was the one who made a call. Last story. Am I the a-hole for being upset that my family didn't get my kids Christmas presents? I married into a wealthy family. My family's lower middle class, so it was quite a change. I have 2 kids, 6 female and 4 male, that get more or less anything they want, but they aren't spoiled. Anyways, we decided to spend Christmas with my family. And the day before Christmas Day, since my dad worked on the actual day, my mom calls all the kids to the tree for presents and did her usual, "You guys were so good, and that's why Santa gave you all these things" speech. After that, all of them quickly found theirs, but my 2 kids kept searching and couldn't find anything. My son was on the verge of tears, and my daughter was quiet after the tree was cleared and they were left with nothing. I asked my mom what was going on, and my mom looked at me then at my kids and went, "Oops, I thought you knew." We all decided that we weren't buying them Christmas gifts. I asked her why, and she said that they get more than they need from me and my in-laws, and that they all collectively decided to spend more on those that need it. She looked at my son who had tears running down his face and said, "See, look at how spoiled he is. This is good for them." Then she walked away. I quietly went back to the guest room and packed our things. I then called my husband who had offered to go grab my mom something from Walmart and told him to leave the stuff and come pick us up. We then left quietly after I let my dad know. He was disappointed, but said he understood. We managed to cheer the kids up and visited my in-laws instead. A while later, I got a call from my mother. She kept asking me why I disappeared like that and said that she was waiting for the stuff my husband was bringing from Walmart. I told her very politely that I didn't like what she did to my children and that she or literally anyone else could have at least told me. My mom said I was acting very entitled for someone who goes on multiple vacations a year. She then brought up my son crying again. I got angry and told her that the reason he cried is because of her stupid speech about only good kids getting presents. My mom then randomly said that maybe he isn't a good kid if he cried like that over not getting toys. We argued back and forth over this, but then I ended up saying that she's very lucky I didn't snatch back the gifts I bought for my nieces/nephew. My mom just said the entitlement before hanging up. My sister texted me the same thing, and my other sister said that I'm playing the victim when the real victims are them and their kids. My mom sent a similar text as well. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Also, to clarify, 1. The presents my husband and I got our kids were at our in-laws since we were going there after a while anyways. 2. We told my in-laws what happened and they got some extra things to cheer them up. Getting their presents cheered my daughter up. It cheered my son up as well, but the speech my mom gave seems to be bothering him still. 3. I've been using Santa was done delivering presents, which again, seems to have mostly worked since they did eventually get things. But I will be doing what a few people suggested about Santa apologizing and reassuring my kids that they were never on the naughty list. Thanks. Your mom made a big show to all the kids about Santa bringing presents because they were so good, all while knowing some kids didn't have anything under the tree because she intentionally left them out and she thinks it's good for them. Look, it might be one thing to maybe spend money differently on grandkids who have a lot versus grandkids who need a lot. But your mom was actively out to punish your kids, simply because they come from a wealthier background. That's just gross. Not the a-hole. Opie, your mom sounds like my mom, who once literally got me coal for Christmas. Years later, when I was in my 20s, she bought my brothers and I a toolkit. My older and younger brother got the 100-piece toolkit and I got the 50-piece toolkit. When I asked why I got a smaller one, she said, "Well, you're gay. You don't use tools." Then she said, "Plus, you've never asked us for money, so we figured you could buy it yourself if you really needed it." I've been in contact with her for about 3 years now, and they've been the most peaceful holidays I've ever had in my life.
Not the a-hole.
I'm so sorry for your kids.
Not the a-hole.
From your kids' perspective, Santa didn't get them anything because they weren't good. I think if your family told you beforehand they were getting gifts for everyone except your kids, you would have been able to get them something yourself, and the whole ordeal would have been much easier. That had to be on purpose, right? There's no way this didn't cross my mother's mind. And gosh, if I knew, let's just say the situation would be very different.
Not the a-hole.
Go no contact now. That's horrible. They sound jealous of you. But bringing the kids into their issues is awful. Try to minimize the damage with your kids as soon as you can. That's a lifelong type of trauma. My son is really affected by this and bursts into tears every time he thinks he's done something wrong. He's also constantly apologizing for everything and anything. It's heartbreaking, but my husband and I are dealing with it. As for going no contact, consider it done. Everyone on that side has been blocked minus my dad, but if he even tries to bother me, he's getting blocked too. This might be the time to tell them Santa isn't real. He's bursting into tears over an imaginary judgment of an imaginary man. Your mom sucks.